Right, well, here I am, Friday podcast video, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to talk about the choice between safe and brave. Not as a topic per se, but as the title of my new book that's coming out next week. This has been quite a work in progress. It's book 6 in the Teapot Cottage stories, and it's taken me probably 8 months to get this one finished and over to market. Got the cover done, got the proofing done, all the rest of it. And a lot of people don't realise what's involved in getting a book to market. It's not just a simple case of writing the text, there's a lot that needs to happen afterwards, and various obstacles can pop up along the way that mean sometimes you've got more of a challenge than you thought you were going to have in getting that book ready for market. And that's been the case with this one. There were some problems with the cover on this book. The graphic designer had made a major error, and it resulted in a lot of delays and a lot of confusion about what was really going on, about what had caused the issue, with a great big watermark on the front of it that we couldn't get rid of. I didn't know what to do. And it took some time to get this resolved, and it was the case of no one being willing to take responsibility for what happened, which is less of a problem than getting the resolution, because I'm always more interested in the solution to a problem rather than dwelling on the problem itself or who might have caused it. And just as before I carry on, just in the background, you'll probably hear a little bit of growling because my two dogs are here with me, and they've chosen now to have a tussle. They've been quiet all morning, but the minute I start to speak, they feel the need to chip their two penneth in, so they're sitting there gnashing their teeth at one another, and you'll be hearing a bit of that, I'm sure. But it's just life as it is for me working from home. So, yeah, the choice between safe and brave is the story principally of a young woman called Teresa Bostock. She's the daughter of Adi Raven, who is the main protagonist in the first ever Teapot Cottage novel, No Small Change. And for those of you who are following the series, you'll remember that No Small Change starts with Adi arriving at Teapot Cottage in a screaming heap of menopausal chaos, and the fact that her marriage is blown up and her kids aren't talking to her, and she's just got a lot on her plate to try and contemplate and work out how to deal with and recover from. Menopause has blindsided her completely, so she's really struggling to get on top of that and feeling a bit like a rabbit in the headlights. So that's where the series begins. And we learn as well within that first novel that she has a couple of children, and one of them is called Matty, and she's got Teresa, her daughter. Now, the choice between safe and brave is mainly the story of Teresa. And we didn't start out that way with this book, actually. We started out with a character called Chris Darcy, who is arriving at Teapot Cottage also in a sobbing heap, recovering from the most devastating trauma imaginable. So I started the choice between safe and brave focusing on him. And then all of a sudden, Teresa just kind of barges in and demands to be a major part of the story too. So I said to myself, well, okay, let's bring you in then and see where you go. And she has become the major character alongside Chris in this novel. And it's really about recovering from different kinds of heartbreak and seeing where life takes you and making choices that feel right for yourself, even if they don't necessarily sit well with the people who love you or care about you. And we all have that to face in life, no matter how young or old we are. We sometimes find ourselves making decisions or going down a path that feels like it's the right one for us that other people don't necessarily agree with. There are times in our lives where we have to stick to our guns and remain true to our integrity, even if it costs us people. And Teresa and Chris both find out in this scenario that they do lose people along the way, but they gain new ones, and people who are more in tune with the way they want to live, and people who will support them, who love them enough to support their choices, even if they don't necessarily agree with them. Now, Teresa decides on a career choice that is absolutely terrifying to her mother, Adi. So, Adi is tearing her hair out at the prospect of her daughter taking up this career, which is, she thinks it's insane. Teresa thinks it's the only thing she can do. And then we have Chris, who's also at a career crossroads and wanting to make changes and, struggling to justify moving on from his losses, and feeling comfortable about letting go of certain elements of the past that have kept him stuck and struggling. So these guys, they have, one of them has the kind of job that scares the life out of everyone. Another has a recreational passion that scares the life out of everyone. And they feel the pressure of not doing those things to satisfy the wants and needs of the people in their lives who love them and would prefer that they didn't do it. Those things come, those choices, they come at a cost. But it really comes down to the question, what kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to live a safe life, or do you want to live a brave life? And only each individual can answer that question. Chris and Teresa, or Tessie as he calls her, we go on to learn and know her as Tessie as the book goes by. They make choices about living safe or brave lives, and those choices have an impact on the other, and they have an outcome because of the contributions of each other. So they start off by developing a friendship after realizing that they've met before on the other side of the world. So that's the cottage working its magic and bringing them back together as friends who understand one another and the weirdness, if you like, of what they want to do in their lives and how that doesn't sit comfortably with other people in their lives. So they get it, they understand that about each other, and they give one another the strength through their friendship to go on and live and claim the lives that they really want and feel destined to have. Also within this novel, for those who have been following the series, you'll know of Miranda Quirk. She's A.D. Raven's best friend from childhood, and she's a stage actress, very successful in the London West End. And in this book, she also has to make a choice between a safe and brave life. She gets an opportunity that she has always been hopeful for and afraid of in equal measure. And she finally swings around to the hopeful side and decides to take a punt on an opportunity that she gets. So she decides as well to live a brave life rather than a safe one. And this is what the stories are really all about. It's about the choices we make and how we go on and live our lives and deal with all of the ickiness that goes on in the background, and different relationships, different problems that we have that drag us down from time to time, and still throughout all of it trying to remain truthful to ourselves and the kind of lives we want to live, and acknowledging that there are compromises to be made within that in order for it to feel comfortable, and there are sacrifices that need to be made too, and whether or not we're willing or able to make those compromises and sacrifices. So this is a big story. There's a lot in this story. We've got themes of misogyny, we've got themes of standing against social pressure to live a certain way in terms of what society expects from us, and how strong we have to be sometimes to stand against that in order to be our true authentic selves. And there's a lot of stuff that happens that AD and Teresa go back over. There are a couple of villains in the piece that are talked about more or less in the third person. They don't show up as actual villains with a dialogue in the book, but the storylines refer to them as people who have taught us important lessons. And we've all got those, haven't we? We've all had people in our lives at one time or another who we've learned something from, even when it's been painful. They've treated us horribly. We've had to jettison those relationships because of that, and we've had to learn to be a little more resilient and a bit thicker skinned, and actually to recognise the ghosters, the gaslighters, the people who constantly want to tear us down, and learn in the appreciation of that the issues that they've got are really all about them and not us. And sometimes that's a painful thing. It's hard to walk away from someone, especially when it's a person who's been in your life for a while, or it's a person who means a lot to your partner in life. It can be really hard to turn your back on all of that and walk away, but sometimes in the interest of saving ourselves, that's what we have to do, isn't it? And this is what a couple of the characters in the book do. And Adie talks about a past villain in her life that she learns from. And it only comes up in conversation because Teresa mentions it herself and uses it as a reference point for the kind of man she doesn't want to be involved with, she doesn't want to have in her orbit. So her own father, Adie's first husband, he's behaving really badly too, and continuing to stuff up his life in all sorts of ways, and tries to drag Teresa into that. So she's got a lot going on. There is a lot in this book. It's not a much bigger book in terms of volume, actual size, than the previous Teapot Cottage series, but there are a lot of issues covered in here. And so I hope that you'll enjoy The Choice Between Safe and Brave. I'm really excited about this one. I think it's the best one yet because of what it covers and because of the fact that it transcends all generations. And as ever, as in all of the other novels that came before it, the matriarchs of the town all sit around and they offer their wisdom and support and their insight, and they have a pretty big role to play in some of the decisions that are made by the younger ones going forward. So the wise women of Tawley Town prevail yet again, and the magic of Teapot Cottage prevails yet again, and we see characters develop and grow and learn and go off in extraordinary directions that they once never foresaw for themselves or each other. And it's a truly wonderful thing to be able to write these books that take on a little life of their own as you go through the process, and you think you've got the plot more or less sorted in your head, and then all of a sudden one of these characters just says something or does something that you hadn't seen coming. It just pops into your head, and all of a sudden you've got a different path to go down. And that is the most delightful part of the process, because it makes these characters real. And you know, after all of these many long months of writing The Choice Between Safe and Brave and getting it available for you, I feel like these people are my friends. I feel like they're real. You know, they're real in my heart, and I hope that they'll be real in yours, because the struggles that they face and the choices that they make in choosing between safe lives and brave ones are choices that we all have to make. So I'm hoping it will resonate for you. And the details of the book's availability will be posted next week on my Facebook page, Annie Cook Writer. I'll also put the link in LinkedIn. It'll be on Instagram and probably on Twitter as well. So keep an eye out. You'll get the link to buy the book as soon as it's up. But I've just heard today from my publisher that it's ready to rock and roll. So I'm waiting for that, and might be opening a little bottle of champagne on the back of this one. So enjoy the story. And give me some feedback. If you do enjoy the story, please leave me a nice review on the literary platform you've bought it from, Barnes & Noble or Amazon or Kobo. It all matters greatly to an author to get those good reviews. It helps pushes things up the ratings a little bit, makes the books a little bit more visible to be seen by more people. And as an indie author, we all need all the help we can get, but The Choice Between Safe and Brave, it's real, it's ready to go, and I'm excited, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the book. Okay, I'll talk to you soon.